Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rekahak Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth, in sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000, 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel that are set up to be the judges over the whole earth, under the authority of who the world ignorantly and fraudulently call Jesus Christ. Yahushai is his name. All right, and to the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen that often have the appearance of the heathen. This is not a black only thing or a color thing at all. The Israelites are scattered among all people. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another brutal lesson in truth. And going to kill two birds with one stone here. All right, two evil, hateful birds, not two good birds. By pointing out a few things. All right, and so first let's open with a scripture, which is Habakkuk 2:16. And it reads, "Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered, and the cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory." All right. And let's go ahead and grab Job 27:15, because of the majority of this information that's going to come out, this be damaging to Esau. Edom is coming from his women. All right. And these are the curses falling on him. It tells you that the same curses that fell upon us, Deuteronomy 30:7, will fall upon them. And one of the things was that one of the main curses that fell upon the Israelite man is that the black woman, the Latino, Hispanic woman, the Native American woman, especially the black woman, because the Judah is the head tribe, collectively have been against their men and sided with Massa, all right, which is a Hebrew word for oppressor. You know, it's funny how Esau, Edom thought it was just it was funny to them because they thought it was just broken English, but they were calling them Massa on purpose. All right, the joke's on them, because what they were calling them is oppressors, and that's exactly what they are, colonizing oppressors. All Edomites that came to America, that migrated here, benefited from the free slave labor and the stolen land, all right, which was damaging to both the northern and southern kingdom. They benefited from it, all right. But let's read this Job 27:15, and it reads, "Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widow shall not weep." Nobody's weeping for these so-called white men as they die, as they struggle, as their power fails them. All right. So let's go ahead and play the first evidences, all right, that all so-called white people, all right, self-proclaimed, have benefited from the atrocities that has been done against the Israelites here in the Americas and around the world for that matter. All right. Make sure the sound is up. There we go.
Most of us learned a distorted history of slavery in school. So as white Americans, most of us don't realize our connection to it. Here's a quick rundown of historical facts I had not been taught. That the North was deeply implicated, that slavery was legal in northern states for over 200 years, that Northerners up and down the economic spectrum made their livings and businesses tied to slave trade and slavery, that northern mills processed cotton harvested by enslaved people. The Midwest and the West were implicated. They grew food to feed the South, where land was devoted to cash crops like cotton, harvested by the enslaved. Consumers throughout the country were implicated in their everyday purchases of clothing, coffee, sugar, rice, tobacco. People who immigrated from Europe after slavery were implicated. I have Irish, French, and German immigrant ancestors who came to the United States in the 19th century, worked in factories, struggled, but they were given access to the American dream. Why were waves of immigrants flocking here? Because it was the land of opportunity. Why was the economy booming? Why were there jobs? Because it had been built largely on unpaid labor. Once here, European immigrants got to systematically leapfrog over black families with devastating consequences up to the present day.
That's all you need to hear. They got to leapfrog over the people who made this economy boom for decades, for centuries. There were even, policy put in place to make sure that oppression stayed, that denied so-called blacks land ownership, the ownership of weapons. There was policy passed where a so-called black man, all right, this made up race category that they created, all right, for certain groups of us Israelites, couldn't even take a so-called white man, another made up social construct, to court. Even when they did you wrong, there was no laws for you and only laws for them. All right. And the laws for you were laws that kept you oppressed, that arrested your development. All right. As they were able to, for, centuries, leapfrog past you, which is why, so-called white people, self-proclaimed the made up social construct of whiteness, families have collectively more wealth than the counterparts who built up this land for them, so that they could basically be ticks, and suck the blood of those who did it. I just saw a horrific video of a deer crawling with ticks, and that's basically what Edomites are. They're like ticks. All right. They're a parasite that just destroys everything that's nice until it's dead. And then all those same ticks then leap onto another body and suck the life out of it. And that has been, the way that they have lived. That has been their existence. All right. And the head of that has been Amalek. All right. And we're in a time now where things are going to be reversed, right? Because the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And we know who's first in this society: Amalek, the Ish, the ones who have all these lobbies, who separated themselves from even the other Edomites, from the other self-proclaimed white people, as if they're a different race of people, to the point where they've got the other white people pissed off at them. Highly pissed off. So let's play another evidence. But first, let's play this one that's on the screen. I'm gonna play about maybe 4 or 5 minutes of it, and then we'll get back into the scriptures.
Representative Thomas Massey, who's been the only Republican willing to speak out against Israel, who's been the only Republican who has consistently voted against sending more military aid to Israel, had a sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson. And it was kind of amazing.
I'm not against Israel. I've never voted to sanction Israel. I've never said anything particularly, critical of Israel, other than, for instance, right now they're bombing. They've killed 1% of the civilian population in Gaza. That's concerning to me. I'd vote my conscience, which they won't tolerate. So they ran with their 501c4 before they had a super PAC. They were running educational advocacy ads against me, saying that, I'm bad on Israel. This election cycle, they spent $400,000 against me, $90,000 last fall running TV ads in my district and Facebook ads and whatnot.
They've called you a bigot and they call you an anti-Semite and say you're a hater and try to destroy your character.
And that's what they do. Anytime you speak any truth, you know, against these people, right? That's what they do. Instead of looking at the evidence, all right, they ignore the evidence. They ignore completely any evidence you've presented to prove what you said is true, and immediately jump behind the anti-semantic shield. All right, using that anti-word, which is basically semantics. They play semantics. So if you expose any malicious intent or acts that's done by this AIPAC, all right, you get labeled anti-semantics. Quite frankly, the world, Edomites, other so-called white people are tired of it, and the world is tired of it. All right, you've committed a crime just for pointing out their murder. You present the evidence in the film of murder, and instead of, and everyone looks at it all appalled. They all watch it and see the evidence, but then they look at the person who shared the evidence as the problem. That's what these people do. That's how they operate. How dare you expose our murderous activities, our colonial activities? How dare you show that we, spill innocent blood? How dare you show that we've taken the resources and the wealth of another country? You're anti-semantic. That's how these people operate. Real talk. 100%. All right. And it's all coming down to their shame. All right. It's all, what's that scripture? I think it's in Numbers. Yeah, it is in Numbers. Because they have a very painful and rude awakening, especially as more and more evidences are showing forth of their fraud. These people have hijacked, the Israelite nationality. But this is Numbers 24 and 20. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. And they are the first of the nations. All right. There's no other nation in America that has a AIPAC or any other NGO where they can control who goes in and out of office, control all 4 branches of government. Because the IRS, the Federal Reserve, is another branch of government, and which dictate policy over your executive, over your judicial. All right. Yeah, they do. They dictate every damn thing. And when you point it out, they play the anti-semantics card on you. The world is tired of that shit. That shit is played out. All right. You people are exposed, man. And the Bible is very clear when it says, and let's go to Matthew 20 and 16. And it reads, so the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. But many are called, but few are chosen. All right. So, the first part, speaking about the Edomites, they're first in this world. The woman just broke it down to you, how America was built up, and then it allowed Edomites to come from the stolen portion of Eurasia, from Europe, from Asia, and come over to the Americas and benefit collectively as a people at the oppression and the colonization of the Israelites. All right, at the enslavement of Judah and Ephraim and the Northern Kingdom, because they were enslaved too. They try to leave that out of history to make it seem as if they weren't. So-called Hispanics and natives were put on the same slave ships that Negroes were put on. Matter of fact, they were put on them first. And there's cases of them. I have books on the shelf, documented history of them being on ships together, whole logs with names and everything, and places where they went to. All right. They were enslaved together. All right. And then they also, knowing that they were the same people, that's why the Indian and the so-called African slave were, a lot of them were reclassified as Negroes. They were reclassified as the same people. That was an act signed and pushed in 1683. All right, in Virginia. All right, that's something you can look up if anybody wants to open their dumbass mouth to say something opposite, to try to come against that truth. Look it up. Okay? So, let's play another short by Marjorie Taylor Greene. I actually like this chick. All right? She's got a big mouth. All right? But she speaks a lot of truth, especially as of lately. And this is, like I said, in that Job 27:15, man. The Edomite woman is really against her men these days. Esau's starting to feel what Judah has felt. All right, they're getting divorced, getting taken for everything. You know, obviously, Edomites got baby daddies now. They're having children out of wedlock, left and right. Okay, Edomite women are sleeping with men of color, left and right, mostly so-called black men. All right, Edom is losing, man.
Since I've become a member of Congress since 2021, we have voted on 22 resolutions for Israel, 22 of them. All kinds of resolutions, denouncing anti-Semitism, supporting Israel. We voted on 22 of those. We never vote on resolutions proclaiming great things about America or defending certain Americans or defending Americans in general. But we have voted on 22 resolutions in the House defending Israel. I think here's the situation. It's coming to a point where it's so obvious all the time.
Yep.
In everyone's language, the social media posts they put out, the statements that they make. They have to proclaim Israel. They have to proclaim their faith and loyalty in Israel and how they, Israel is our greatest ally. And it's a statement that has to be made over and over and over again, to the point it's becoming like, wait a minute, what about our own country? What about our own people? And we have so many problems here in America, and we talk about this all the time. $37 trillion in debt. And in Congress, everyone is chasing and pursuing and proclaiming their loyalty to a foreign country.
Yep. And there it is.
Since I've become a member of Congress since 2021.
They're proclaiming their loyalty to a foreign country, which AIPAC and other NGOs orchestrate that through all the money that they spend. All right. And they place their people in places of power to make decisions. Most of your major law enforcement and medical things, when you look at all the top people and the decision makers and the CEOs, it's the small hatters. All right. And they rule over and control Americans. You're goyim to them. You're cattle. Okay. And like I said, let's go back to that Numbers 24 and 20 real quick. Read it again. It says, and when he looked upon Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his end shall be that he perish forever. Right? So let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 3. Point is in 18:19, but we'll probably start at let's see. We'll start at 16. And it says, as for the children of adulterers, they shall not come to their perfection, and the seed of any unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. All right. So all you, You know, we're making that this scripture is manifold because it's actually applying to all you women having these children. All right. But you belong to other men. You already had husbands and stuff like that. All right. And then you're trying to collect, monies for these little bastards. It says, for they shall not live long, yet shall they be nothing regarded, and their last age shall be without honor. Or if they die quickly, they shall have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. There's going to be no comfort for you Edomites, man. Or any of you 2/3. All right. For horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation, man. So you 2/3 and you Edomites, man, you're going to have a very unrighteous and horrible end, man. And I rejoice in the very thought of that. You know, because the wickedness that's being done here is without bounds. Okay? Without bounds, man. So let me see. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I had so much stuff here. Oh yeah, this one. Let's play this short. Another woman, another scripture being fulfilled. His widows shall not weep. Another one going in. This is Representative Melody Stansberry telling you the truth on the small hats and AIPAC and all the other NGOs like it that dictate policy here in America over Americans with all these and all these people. Look, and I agree with Marjorie Green. She said anyone who has dual citizenship shouldn't be allowed to serve in office. And it only makes sense. That's a righteous thing to do, you know, because you're going to always pick one kingdom over the other. And it seems like all the people that are in control of America, you know, they're all of the Ish persuasion, and they always pick Ishness over Americanness. All right. And here we go.
System is rigged. And the way the system gets rigged is that rich people rig the system for themselves. And that is exactly what's happening today with this bill and the 3 sets of crypto bills that are before Congress. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And the way they do that is by lobbying members of Congress, giving them campaign donations, mobilizing people in their districts to vote for scams like this bill. Just 2 weeks ago, this Republican majority passed the largest tax break in American history for the wealthy. That bill, the big ugly bill, will make the rich in this country 4% richer, while it makes the poor in this country 4% poorer. And it does that by stealing your health care, stealing food assistance, stealing housing, and stealing the fundamental support programs that make it possible for working families to survive in this country. But guess what? Donald Trump doesn't care, because he's a con man. He's happy to tell you that he's going to save you money on groceries while the cost of groceries is going up at historic rates. Just yesterday, the Consumer Finance Index showed that the cost of everything is up. The cost of housing, the cost of groceries, the cost of basic consumer goods. And why is it going up? Because of Donald Trump's tariffs and the policies that he's pushing through this Congress. And now, as part of his larger crypto crime scheme, he is pushing to pass these 3 bills that, guess what, are going to make him richer and make the American people poor. That's what this is all about. Now, how are they going to rig this system? They're trying to pretend like this is a regulation bill. This is absolutely about deregulating the crypto market, dismantling protections for consumers, weakening oversight, massive loopholes for the worst possible actors, like Donald Trump himself. And it would leave consumers unprotected, fraud unchecked. It would hurt and destabilize the economy. And yes, at the end of the day, it will hurt working families. Because when the economy becomes unstable, guess who's okay? The rich. But who's not okay people who are living on the edge.
Including most
so
of MAGA.
It's important that we see this set of bills for what it is. It's a scam. It's an effort by those who want to take advantage of the financial system and hardworking Americans and your pensions and your paychecks and your investments and scam you. They want to scam you out of your money. They want to take it for themselves, and they're going to use Congress to do it. And every single one of these Republicans is going to be complicit in it. That's what's going on here. So folks need to wake up. Groceries are going up. Housing is going up. Healthcare is going up. And they're rigging the system for themselves. And we're here not only to say no, but hell no, we're going to fight for our working families. The system is rigged.
Yeah, and it's rigged. So, and not only that, you know, when she says the end result of that is who's rigging the system? Who is it benefiting? The same people that this whole lesson has been talking about. All right. And now Donald Trump is having problems because MAGA is split, because MAGA is not for the ish. MAGA is not for the AIPAC and the other ish GMOs, NGOs. Well, I guess you could say GMOs too. All right. But they're not having it. They're not with it because they see the destruction that it's doing. And basically he ran his whole campaign on exposing them and all the ishness connection to Epstein, you know, and he's basically betrayed his whole base, and you having a problem now. And so he's bringing, it's just like that scripture. What's that scripture? When he says he's bringing an end to himself, something to that effect. And that's exactly what the Lord's doing. The Lord is setting him up for he's just a big deity. He's messing himself up. All right, this is Jeremiah 50 and put something back on the screen. This is Jeremiah 50 and let's start at, point is in 23, but I'm going to read all the way to 26. And it says, how is the hammer of the earth, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Why? Well, their support, one of the reasons is their support for Amalek. See, Amalek end has to be shameful and without honor. And he is the first of the nations. And Amalek was ruling here in America from the side, basically ruling from over there, in Western Asia, what they fraudulently call the Middle East. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou strivest against the Lord. See, you strive against the Lord by going against his people. By having the Bible in your possession, putting yourself up as to be the people of the Bible while never following anything that's in the Bible. Teaching, always screaming love, 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 but showing nothing but hate. Murder. There's no nation in the history of mankind and no race in the history of mankind that's responsible for more blood spilled than Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. I don't care how many ninjas in America knock old white women over the head, steal their purses, or shoot somebody in a robbery. They could do that for the next 1,000 years and never equal the amount of blood that has been spilled by the so-called white man here on this earth. All right. In this new century, we're not even counting the last century, the centuries before. All right. We're talking about hundreds of millions of souls so that they can live deliciously while screaming that they're Christians and loving people. And they're just a bunch of murderous, genocidal colonists that steal other people's heritage and try to hoard all the wealth and everything to themselves while ruining it. Their technology destroys the earth, destroys the air, destroys the water, destroys the food. All right. Verse 25. Yahweh hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of Yahweh of the power of hosts against the land of the Chaldeans. So he's going, and what are those weapons? The arrows of his indignation. All right, figure it out. That and the chariots of Israel are coming to put this man down. And they've been showing themselves. You know, Esau just tried to label them UAPs and UFOs. Like, you know, like that movie Nope, the first part of it, you know, and then they try to control the narrative, and the craft is a living being that's eating flesh. Man, get the fuck out of here. Those are the chariots of Israel, which are described in the Bible over and over again. The pilots of them are big 9-foot tall so-called black men with gray big old afros that have immortal bodies. That's where you get all your superheroes and cartoons from, and they're going to really show up, and they know that they're real. All right. Verse 26, come against her from the uttermost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing be left of her. There's going to be nothing left of Babylon, man. All right. You tried to hide your wicked counsel, and now you've been found out. Let's get that. We're about to wrap this up. Isaiah 29:15. Woe unto him that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us? Marjorie Green just told you it become painfully obvious that everything is done for Amalek. Everything is done for AIPAC and all the other NGOs that set forth policy against and it's going to cause this civil war and cause them to be shamed and chased out of the world like they have been of lately. Amalek been getting that ass whooped around the world when they show up to places. They're not welcomed everywhere. All right, like they used to be. Let's go to Job and finish it up. Point is in 18, but I'm started 16. All right, this is Job 18 and 16. And it reads, his roots shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. There's going to be no more Edomites, man. That day is coming. What a beautiful day it will be. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the streets, because Esau is getting ready to go back on the bottom where he belongs. All right. He's the first, but he shall be last, just as the Bible said. The first shall be last. And anybody who wants to deny that who's first in this society right now, well, you're just a liar, or you're extremely stupid. Some of you are both. All right. He shall be driven from the light into darkness, and shall be chased out of the world. And there it is, man. He's going to be chased out of the world. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining of his dwelling. See, and it's men, the family jewels. It's men that keeps a race going, not the women. All right? The woman of a race doesn't determine the nationality of the children that come out of her. It's the seed that goes into her. So if she is having children with a man that's not of her race, her children are not biracial. They're what their father is. Period. Regardless of what their outer appearance looks like. Dumbass people. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, as they went before were affrighted. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not God. So these Edomites, you know, like it says in Wisdom of Solomon, he claimeth to be a son of God, and they're going to put us to the test. But they already know the answer to it. All right. If it were not so, they wouldn't have went through hundreds of years of trying to change the imagery of the Lord to look like themselves, and remove scriptures and change the meaning of words, and you know, all these things they try to do to hide the fact that they're the nation of Edom, and that the Negro, Latino, and Native American, all right, and the scattered are the Israelites. And it doesn't, you know, they tried to hide and bury that truth. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, all honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, Kwam Yasharala, Abad Babal.